Welcome, everybody, to the Early Edge. I am the counselor of cash. As everybody already knows, the coach, well, he's on PGA Tour Live calling a group headlined by John Rahm. He's pretty good at golf. We've got an awesome cast today. We've got a lot to get through. We've got MLB. We've got NBA. We've got an NFL draft pick in here as well. More on the NFL draft in a second. But first, let's look at the recap screen. Let's see what we did yesterday. Certainly not our best work. AB with the 2 out of 3 there. A-Mags 2 for 2. Me and Specty hit ours. But, certainly not the best bounce back Wednesday. It wasn't much to bounce back from Wednesday. We had a decent Tuesday. But let's make sure our Thursday is great. Before we bring on the stars of the show, though, let's talk about the CBS Sports app draft tracker. Get real-time updates about your team's draft picks and trades all 3 days of the draft, including scouting reports, grades, player comps for all your team's selections. Download the free CBS Sports app to use the best draft tracker out there. Best second screen companion for when you're watching the draft unfold on TV. And next, let's talk about a podcast that has everything to do with the NFL draft. How should you feel about your team's latest draft picks? With the First Pick podcast, it's your source for comprehensive draft coverage and pick breakdowns with CBS Sports draft expert Ryan Wilson and longtime general manager Rick Spielman. Ryan and Rick will recap each day of the draft, dishing out winners and losers from all 7 rounds. And the draft chatter doesn't stop on Saturday. Stay tuned to the show for team-by-team draft grades and an early look at who your team could be eyeing next year. Download and follow with the First Pick podcast wherever you find this one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough talking on my part. Let's bring in the stars of the show. Absolutely love this crew right here. And it's headlined, of course, by, well, I don't know that there's a headliner, but I got to start with my partner in crime on Fantasy Football Today, DFS. That's none other than Mike McClure at the penthouse level. Mike, how's it going?
Good morning, Sia. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you mentioned FFT DFS. You actually recorded an episode yesterday there. It's football talk. I feel like I should be cracking a liquid death right now for those who know.
Yes, for those who know that reference, we got a lot of inside little things on FFT DFS. I did record an episode yesterday with Derek Brown. It is an absolutely great episode talking about some of the rookies coming in and some DFS as well. Larry Hartstein, the maestro. How's it going today?
Well, it's been better. I lose one of my props on an injury to Julius Randle. I lose another in overtime with Bam Adebayo getting 4 points. But, that's how it rolls. You can't whine. You can't complain. You just keep grinding. But I do want to point out, I will have an NFL draft pick coming up, a prop bet. But RJ White, perhaps the best NFL draft expert in the nation, his latest mock, his final mock is dropping right about now. The preview will be on CBS. The full thing will be on SportsLine. And of course, he released his best bets for the draft early in the week. These are bets, you have to jump on when the news is available. But check out his final mock. It should be dropping right around now.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if you're going to like an NFL draft party, or if you're in like a text group with some of your friends and you want to sound real smart, go to SportsLine, check out RJ White's article, and just, it's your text group. So you can just kind of copy his insight and just drop some knowledge, and then you're going to be that guy in your crew that people are going to lean on. It's a little cheat code via SportsLine. Speaking of cheat codes, Allie, I got to tell you, this entire week, people have been clamoring for Allie. Hey, where's Allie? We got to have Allie. There is an Allie army out there for sure. Well, Army, your general is here. Allie, how's it going?
Going well. I'm a little bit sad the Avs lost last night. I definitely was not seeing that coming. So I hope we get a game 7 here, but we'll see.
Absolutely. We have seen the footage from you being at the Colorado Avalanche game. So thanks for sending those, putting those out on Twitter. Obviously, Allie is an incredible follow on Twitter for those of you that aren't already doing that. Danny Brasco, how's it going today?
It's going great, Sia. The UFC dogs have been barking, and I got a couple more for you here, too. My picks are already up on SportsLine, but I'm going to bring 2 underdogs to the show today, see if we can cash them.
Absolutely love it. And listen, before we get to the marquee matchups, can I just say, Larry, that Julius Randle prop was absolute gold. It is just really unfortunate that we can't, there's an X next to that bet, but there almost should be like an italicized X or something, because that one was definitely coming in. And it's just, those are the breaks. In basketball, there's not always a ton of injuries, but they happen. And you can really turn your day. And it's just one of those things you genuinely can't account for. Speaking of basketball, let's talk about today's marquee matchup, because we've got a basketball game that I don't know that we expected to have, to be honest with you. we've got the Celtics. They're going into Atlanta. I think everybody thought the Celtics were going to close, including myself. And by the way, I thought the Bucks were going to win last night too. There are a lot of strange things are happening in the NBA. Good for Jimmy Butler, Spoelstra, and the crew there. But tonight's game, I think, is really interesting. We know Dejounte Murray is back. Celtics 6.5-point favorites at Atlanta. Maestro, I'm going to start with you. How do you see this one panning out?
Well, I think everyone expects the Celtics, who have the better roster, who have the better talent, to close it out. But I think there's a coaching edge in this series, and that goes to Atlanta. Quinn Snyder's been pushing the right buttons offensively, and Joe Mazzulla, I'm not sure what he's doing, playing Marcus Smart down the stretch, benching Malcolm Brogdon, taking out Derek White. You know, there's a lot of complaints, a lot of chatter in Boston that he's too tied to Marcus Smart, and it definitely cost him in Game 5. DeJounte Murray comes back tonight. I have a prop on him, but yeah, I'm leaning towards the points.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm really unsettled on this one. My lean is to following the Celtics. But Danny, let's go to you. Where are you fading or following the favorite here?
I think I have to follow the favorite just because I agree with you. I didn't expect the Hawks to force this game either, but I feel like it's time to close this thing out. There's been, I think, an overperformance in a number of games from the Hawks. I didn't expect them to get past the Heat in the play-in game, so I'm shocked that they're here. And I think the Celtics take care of business in this one. 6.5, I'm not in love with laying, but I do think they get the job done and finish off the series.
Yeah, and I will say this, Maestro, to your point about Quinn Snyder, I do think the coaching edge lives with him. I don't want to say for sure, but I think it's a really good point. I think sometimes we sort of take coaching out of it and we just look at the players on the court. And I think, Spoelstra is a really good example. I'm not just talking about last night, but really in general. If you look at the Heat roster ever since the big three left it, listen, this is not a good roster. And Spoelstra seems to get his team not only to the playoffs, but sometimes to the finals as well. And I think that coaching edge needs to matter, particularly in the playoffs. It's not just about the players. Allie, fading or following the Boston Celtics?
Ooh, I'm not very good at NBA, but I'm going to have to go with the Celtics here. I know the Celtics are good, and I think they're a little better.
Hey, that maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Because honestly, that's kind of where I'm going. I think, to me, it just seems like a good response, a good bounce back spot for the Celtics, who frankly were kind of embarrassed with that comeback on their home court. Mike, do you share that same view? Is it the Celtics minus 6.5? Are you following that, or are you fading?
I'll follow it. I expect them to win and close it out here. I'm looking more at them in the first half of this game. It's currently -3 juiced, -3.5. That's kind of where I lean more than anything here. They have had some issues closing out down at the end here. I think that they play really well in the first half. You look at every game in this series, they put up at least 60 points in the first half of every single game here. I think that part continues. But yeah, that's where I'll be looking. As far as if I really want to get down on it, I'll still be looking for a competitive game, trying to get this number down to 4.5. Just a more friendly price point than over 2 full possessions.
Fair enough. And speaking of putting things up, we put Mike and a lot of this crew up on CBS Sports HQ. Let's hear from them.
Get breaking news.
Big news coming out of the NFL today.
Highlights and instant reactions.
The largest final round comeback in tour championship history. We're down to the final 4.
I just want to take time to analyze greatness.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports all day long.
You know us at SportsLine and on the early edge. We like to shake things up a little bit. So we've got a Showtime parlay for you. I know the Lakers played last night, and they are the Showtime Lakers, at least back in the Magic Johnson days. But the Angels are really the Showtime Angels at this point with Shohei Ohtani. This is an interesting parlay here. I mean, I certainly don't hate it at plus 240, but I want to get some opinions from some of you here. We've got money line, Angels money line. We've got Ohtani total hits over 1/2, and then over the strikeouts, which is 8.5, which is it's a pretty big number. Mike, I'm going to start with you here. Fading or following this parlay? I mean, it is tough to hit 3 legs, obviously. It's plus 240. How are we feeling about this one?
I don't mind it. I'm going to end up fading it overall just on the strikeout side. I think that it's still just a big number for him personally. So I'm going to fade it only because of the strikeouts. There's a big difference in Major League Baseball between 8 and 9 in terms of strikeouts. Probably bigger than most of the numbers and them moving from, say, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. The difference from 8 to 9 is pretty significant.
And Allie, I'll kick it to you. Is Do all three of these legs seem doable, or is there one like Mike that you're just not in love with, considering that we get the plus 240?
Yeah, I think that strikeout prop, like Mike said, it's really high there. I do like the Angels tonight just because the A's have been so terrible, but looking at 8.5 strikeouts, it's pretty big ask.
It is a big ask. Danny, is it too big of an ask to take this one at plus 240? Because we certainly don't want to force it, but it is Ohtani at the same time.
It's too big of a money line to put in any MLB parlay. Angels minus 335. I don't care if they're playing my little league team that I coach. I'm not putting that in any parlay. I don't trust the Angels as a bigger than 3-1 favorite. So even with Showtime on the mound, I'm good. I'll pass.
Interesting. Yeah, the Angels have been prone to lose to bad teams historically, but also this season as well, letting up a lot of runs in a lot of different circumstances. All right. Well, let's do one more before we get to our picks. Let's pick the prop. We've been hitting these MLB home run props. I don't know that we hit it yesterday, but we got three guys here. We got Ronald Acuna plus 450. We got Mookie Betts at plus 550 and Dansby Swanson at plus 650. Danny, I'm going to kick it right back to you. Which of these three would you put your money on in the home run prop market?
Yeah, I like Acuna Jr. here at plus 450. He's kind of my NL MVP pick to win that award this year. But in this matchup here against Braxton Garrett, I think he has a good chance of going yard. He's got the platoon advantage, lefty versus the righty. And Garrett's been really good this season. You look at his ERA, it looks pretty solid. But his expected ERA is much higher. It's above 5, actually. And he ranks in the bottom half of hard hit rate. So I think if Acuna barrels one up today with that platoon advantage, he could hit one over the fence. So I like him here.
All right. And Allie, let's go to you. Which one of these three guys would have your home run prop money?
Yep, I think I would have to go with Acuna as well. He's gotten 14 hits in his last 10 games, so I think that's kind of telling, and especially against a left-handed pitcher, could definitely get some nice going over today.
And Mike, let's close out the home run prop section with you. Which of these three guys would take your money if you had to play one of these three?
It's going to be Acuna with a little asterisk. We got to watch the weather there. I think that the game will be fine. They're probably going to delay it and get it in. They'll have like a 2.5, 3 hour window where they can. But if for some reason storm hits earlier, may not be the best situation. But Acuna would be the guy. Mookie Betts would be second. Dansby would be a very, very distant third.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Mookie Betts here. Shout out to Mookie Wilson for all you old school Mets fans. And Mookie Blaylock, number 10 with your Atlanta Hawks. All right, finally, everybody, we're going to get to our picks, okay? But we got to pay some of these people. So we're going to do it right now.
Absolutely magisterial here.
Mike, I want to go to you first when we talk about our picks. Listen, this is a really eclectic bunch of picks here. We got some NBA, we got some NFL draft, and we got some baseball. And I know, Mike, you specialize in that team total department. So talk to us.
Team totals, yes. I like the Padres today. Padres team total over 4.5, minus 105 over on FanDuel. Look, the Cubs rotation has been really solid outside of Wisniewski here. I want to pick on this kid as much as I can early here in this spot. He struggled with home runs and walks so far. The strikeout rate, not great. The issue for him is the fastball is just getting absolutely crushed. He's thrown it 108 times so far. The actual weighted on base average on that, 561. Next step, whenever you see a number like that, you've got to look at the expected data, see what's really happening. The expected data is 493. What's happening is what's supposed to happen right now. He is not missing many bats with the fastball. What he's going to do to the righties, he's going to attack righties like Machado and Tatis with his sinker. We look at that pitch here. He wants to throw it to right-handed hitters. He's thrown it 47 times this year, which doesn't sound like a lot. 44 of the 47 have been to a right-handed hitter. That is something that is very significant here. That pitch also getting hit. 368 actual. The expected data balloons up over 400. Look, if he has one pitch that he can get someone out with, he's going to be using it over and over and over, which means he's likely tipping it. I like this spot here to pick on Wisniewski. Let's go Padres team total over 4.5.
Can we all just take a moment and just soak that in a little bit? Like, just let that breathe like a fine wine. That was excellent. I absolutely, A, am taking that bet. But B, I'm going back later in the show and I'm just going to watch Mike's take so that I can maybe glean a little extra from whatever I think I missed. All right. speaking of missing things, I haven't missed many first fives as of late. And I got another first five for you. And it's got a little juice to it. Normally, I'm living in that like that plus 100 to minus 130 range. But this one, I'm going to kick it with minus 140 because I get McClanahan, and he's traveling to the White Sox, one of the worst teams in baseball right now. And I get the first five minus 140. So here's the deal. He's going up against Dylan Cease. Now, if you're following my picks, well, if you're not following my picks, shame on you. But if you're following my picks, you know that you've cashed on Dylan Cease twice this season on first five bets. I don't like fading the guy, but I don't like this situation for him. First of all, there's a couple cracks in the armor with his game. I mean, he hasn't been quite as dominant as I want him to be, but you know who has? Is McClanahan. He is absolutely throwing filthy stuff for the Rays, and the Rays are coming off back-to-back losses. That is just not Rays like, and I think we're looking at a bounce-back spot, just like we were looking at for the Yankees, who had lost 2 in a row to the Twins yesterday. So I really like this spot for the Rays. They're traveling to the White Sox, but again, I like the pitching advantage. Give me the first, even though it's against Dylan Cease, give me the first five, McClanahan at minus 140. All right, speaking of baseball, Allie's got a baseball play for us. Allie, what you got?
Yep, so I'm going to go with the Twins on the run line at even money right here. The Royals, they've been held to fewer than 3 runs in 8 of their last 12 games, and they've also lost 10 games in that stretch. In Minnesota, they already swept a 3-game series against Kansas City earlier this year, and they've won their past 7 home meetings against the Royals. I know Tyler Mahle isn't really anything spectacular, but I do think he has the edge on Zach Greinke, who's 0-3 this season, so I think it's worth it to take the home team on the run line.
Yeah, and I think the Twins bats are really going to start consistently waking up here. So I really like that play. And I will say, when it comes to first five, usually there's a few that I like kind of going into the slate. And I'll tell you, one of the ones that I liked, but I ended up shaking off was that Padres game. Obviously, Mike has a different play on that. It's the team total, but I was going to have the Padres first five, and just for whatever reason, I ended up coming off of it. But just something to note there. I'm a big fan of really both of these plays, the Twins and the Padres play. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's a great lesson just for viewers out there. When you're looking at markets, like I say, I have that play, you're leaning that way, you can always look for correlated markets and make your own decision based off of the information that you've played, because sometimes a correlated market might be better, right? So what I mean by that, I might give this play at minus 105 and it might be up on the side an hour ago, right? It may not move today. Some days this play may move to minus 140. And after it's moved to minus 140, because of all the action on the team total, the other markets that are correlated may not have been coupled and moved with it. So those additional markets may actually be the better play in that spot. So don't be afraid, if you have information from 2 people there, to make a play that is correlated but not identical.
I love that. And another thing I want to point out, because this is pretty important. So the the Tampa Rays minus 140, it's minus 140 first five on DraftKings. It's minus 140 first five at Caesars. But at FanDuel, it's minus 162. Just not something I would do. That's one of those, if FanDuel's your only book, I would just back off. That's prohibitive juice to me. Minus 140, a lot more palatable. So that's just something to consider there. You kind of have to shop your line. Sometimes you can't shop your line, so maybe you have to back off. But if FanDuel is your only place, they have a number up there, which maybe you just want to wait for it to maybe creep back down. That game starts at 7:10. But again, Caesars and DraftKings has my play at minus 140. All right, Danny, I got to tell you, I love you, man. I do. I love you. I love everything about you. I love your takes. I love the content of them and how you perform them on this show. But I can't leave you for last, right? Because this might be my first time hosting with the Maestro. So the Maestro is going to be firmly in that Maestro seat. What does that mean? Danny Brasco, that means you are up next.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, Sia, and I would never presume to take the Maestro's chair. So let me kick off some UFC bets for you guys in this Saturday's Fight Night event. And the main event, I'm taking the underdog, Song Yadong. I think he's at a big striking advantage on the feet, and he's taken on a power wrestler and a guy named Ricky Simone. This is a clash of styles. So for every moment that it's on the feet, I favor Yadong strongly. Now, Simone's going to look to take him to the ground. And if he does, Yadong's been taken down plenty of times before. He'll need to work up back to his feet with a sense of urgency. But in the boxing department, when they're striking, like they say, every fight starts on the feet. I see a big, big difference. And this fight has been changed to a 3 to 5 rounder. Simone has struggled with cardio deeper on in fights. So if it goes into the championship rounds, I favor Yadong even more. He looked really good in a loss to Corey Sandhagen, who is one of the most cerebral, skilled bantamweights there are. So after that loss, he even gained stock for me. I think he picks up a big win here as an underdog at plus 105. Next up, I'm going with a really low-key fun fight and taking another dog in this matchup, and that's Fernando Padilla at plus 130. He's taking on a fun fighter in Julian Juicy J. Arosa, and this is a similar, actually, stylistic matchup. Both guys are long, lanky southpaw strikers, and this should create a lot of interesting angles when you see that southpaw versus southpaw matchup. A lot of openings for both opponents. Thing about Julian Arosa, even though he's a much more experienced fighter, he's been in a lot of firefights in his career, and he's been taking a lot of damage. He actually struggles with fighters of this physique and stylistic makeup, these long, lanky fighters. And I think Padilla has a chance to really make a splash in his debut. He's another one of these young, hungry Mexican fighters who are built with steel in their chin. He can take one to give one. If they're trading, I like Padilla to drop Arosa and get the win in this one. And finally, let's end with a nice big plus money prop. I'm going with some women's MMA. I like Stephanie Egger by submission in this fight. She's taking on a debuting fighter in Irina Alexieva, and Alexieva has a questionable record. She's just 4-1 in her MMA career, and her first win is by her opponent's refusal to fight. What? I've never even seen that on a record. So she really has 4 MMA fights, and she'll be taking on a very experienced, very skilled grappler. Alexieva is a grappler herself. That means she's walking right into Egger's wheelhouse. Egger has great rear naked chokes, great arm bars. If she makes a mistake on the ground, she's going to pay for it. Give me Stephanie Egger by submission at plus 225.
All right. Well, not only am I going to have to bet those, thanks to that, I'm going to have to watch it too. So I got to take away time from so many other things because now I have to watch that Danny Brasco. By the way, everybody in the chat, first of all, thanks for watching. Hopefully you're all SportsLine members, which means you got some of these picks, if not most of them, before this show even started. Hit the like button. If you don't already know, when you come into the show, immediately when you come into the show, just go ahead and hit the like button. That helps the show. It helps us out quite a bit. And we absolutely appreciate you doing that. All right. What I appreciate is hosting a show with the maestro as one of the stars of the show. So, Larry, you got a couple plays here. One of them is NFL draft, and the other one involves a player who did something really dumb a couple of nights ago, but it also means he probably has some fresh legs. So talk to us about your 2 plays.
Yeah, it's atonement time for DeJounte Murray after bumping the ref and getting suspended, and then the team picks him up and extends the series. I'm not sure why Jason Tatum didn't get a technical or even an ejection for what he did, but DeJounte Murray is back. He's averaged 37.8 points, rebounds, and assists in the series. Like you said, Sia, he will be fresh, over 33.5, an elimination game. He's going to play 40 minutes. And obviously the Celtics are tired of Trae Young doing what he's been doing to them. So I think DeJounte Murray has a huge game and tries to make amends for getting suspended. And then in the NFL draft, there's been so much talk. What are the Texans going to do? They're not going to get the quarterback that they want because Bryce Young will be gone. And then there's a lot of reports that they don't like the other guys enough to go at number 2. So is it going to be Will Anderson out of Alabama, or is it going to be Tyree Wilson? Now, even if the Texans don't go for Tyree Wilson, which I think they will, and you can get this right now at plus 500 that he will go number 2, he could still be taken by the Cardinals. This guy is a freak. 6'6", 86-inch wingspan, tremendous pass rusher. He fits DeMeco Ryans and what the 49ers have been drafting all along, that big, tall guy. He has the higher ceiling. Maybe Will Anderson has the higher motor, but Tyree Wilson has the ceiling, and I think they usually go for ceiling that high in the draft.
All right. And so just in case people were not fully paying attention here, because I think when it comes to draft position and you say under or over, people get a little confused. So just to re-clarify, when you say draft position for Tyree Wilson under 4.5, what does that mean? That means one of the top 4 picks, correct?
He's got to go in the top 4. It's minus 140. That is available on DraftKings. FanDuel is giving you great odds right now, plus 500 for him to go number 2 specifically in the draft. And these odds are changing all the time. I mean, every single report, but all the latest info is that it's a toss-up or maybe even better for Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson, assuming they don't take CJ Stroud at number 2.
All right. Absolutely love it. I think the NFL draft is super intriguing, and a little surprise note for everybody that's listening and who probably just hit the like button, like I asked them to do, please. We might have an NFL draft surprise later today around the time of Early Edge in 5. So stay tuned for that. You'll be hearing from us in that regard later today. But listen, I got to say, guys, thank you. Thank you for being my stars, my guests. But I got to say, I think that's all the damage we can do. So let's bring up the recap screen real quick. I've got the Rays first 5 at -140. Padres team total over 4.5 for Mike McClure at -105. Larry's got Tyree Wilson draft position under 4.5 at -140. DeJounte Murray over 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -108. Allie's got the Twins run line -1.5 at +100. And Danny Brasco, Yadong money line +105. Padilla money line +130. And Egger by submission at +225. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am doing my best to fill the gigantic shoes of Coach, who you can listen to right now on PGA Tour Live as he is calling the Mexico Open at Vidanta. But at this point, this is all I can do. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window. For Alabama, for Danny Brasco, for the Maestro, for Mike McClure, and of course, for AB on the 1s and 2s and 9s and 10s. I am your counselor of cash, and we rest our case.